Greetings, and welcome to A Year of Movies, a Planet Geek production. For this project, we are using the Ivan Walters reference book of 365 films to watch on the day they happened. Each day, we watch a movie associated with the date we are watching it on. And as it is the 8th of July, we are going to be watching In Love and War from 1997, directed by Richard Attenborough and starring Sandra Bullock. Now, the only recollection I have of this movie is remembering what the poster looked like. When I brought up the poster for the watch for this show, I had basically vaguely remembered seeing it before, but definitely not actually watched the movie. However, as I was watching the movie, some sequences seemed really familiar to me, so there is a good chance that I probably saw it on some sort of movie network at one point, flipping through channels or something like that. So needless to say, I'm going to mention that this is probably the first full, from start to finish watch of this movie for me. And like I already mentioned, not only does this movie star Sandra Bullock, but it also stars Chris O'Donnell, Mackenzie Austin, Ingrid Lacey, Emilio Bonucci, and Alan Bennett. In 1918, 18-year-old Ernest Hemingway, played by Chris O'Donnell, signs up for service in World War I. After a bomb goes off in the front lines, filling his leg with shrapnel, Hemingway is transported to a hospital, where he begs Dr. Domenico Carciolo, played by Emilio Bonucci, not to amputate. Under the care of 26-year-old Austrian nurse Agnes von Kurowski, played by Sandra Bullock, Hemingway slowly recovers. The two begin an affair, but Agnes is torn between the immature young man and the more stable doctor. So this is basically a biography based on a story by Hemingway himself about his time in World War I, where we experience his very youthful charms trying to sway this older nurse into a relationship that basically spawns not only a great connection between the two, but eventually becomes something that is almost kind of a burden to her. But again, we're dealing with Attenborough directing a fantastic sequence. It's a shorter than usual movie that I would have thought for a Richard Attenborough movie to be, but it's very inviting to watch a young, spry Chris O'Donnell, his flirtatious ways with not only Sandra Bullock, but pretty much all the other staff members and all that, and the other soldiers that he meets up with. He's a very charming character, which is exactly what you would expect from Hemingway to begin with, especially from all of his stories throughout his life. But it's kind of a sad little ending to the movie, which sets up the rest of both Hemingway's life and this young nurse of Agnes. But it has sort of that made-for-television feel to it when the relationship comes to the forefront. Not to say that it's not badly done, it just doesn't have the huge epic scope that one would think from a Hemingway story. But again, we are dealing with like 18-year-old Hemingway. If this were further on in his life, I'm pretty sure the story would have been a lot more exciting and fuller. But again, so this is like early in his life, and it shows that in the youthful outlook that Chris O'Donnell brings to this role. So as part of the U.S. Medical Corps, Hemingway shows up in Italy in 1918, and wanting to be closer to the action, he travels to the front line and is wounded when he's carrying an injured man to safety, and that happens on July 8th, 1918, which is about 11 to 12 minutes into this 1 hour and 53-minute movie. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this particular episode and look off into the future to see what we're going to be watching for tomorrow, which is going to be the 9th of July, and that is The Big Red One from 1980. So until next time, go see a movie.